Welcome back to Pilots on the Fly. My name is James Cartwright, otherwise known as Captain Cartwright, and I've got with me my co-host, Pilot Bob Dallas. How you doing, Bob? Today is episode 5, so we've got a lot to talk about here. A lot of stuff in the news. So, Bob, let's see what you got to say today.
Well, you know what? I'm totally excited. Every time I go on with my buddy here on Pilots on the Fly, this has like really become a wow thing for me. I'm actually hanging out with a real qualified pilot who's got 26 years of experience under the belt. And there's so much to learn. And you're my coach and my mentor, you're my friend. And wow, I am totally blessed to be here. And I consider myself really, really lucky. So, wow, we're going to have a great show tonight. And the topic tonight is going to be, well, everybody knows about it, unless
That's
you've
big
been living in,
news.
unless you've been in a coma or living in a cave or probably somewhere like in the Amazon, stuck somewhere with all those snakes, and you haven't heard about the submersible. Well, that's going to be our topic tonight: the Titan submersible, OceanGate, which were the company that put this thing together. So that's going to be our topic tonight. James, you are not only a pilot, but you also have a passion for anything to do with the marine world.
That is correct. I do love the ocean, and this is right up my alley as well. And in fact, Stockton was a aviation enthusiast as well as a pilot, and he used a lot of aviation technology as he built his subs. So I'm very interested in this subject, and I have a lot of engineering background from not only just building things, but also some school for engineering when it comes to aviation technology. So I'd like to discuss a little bit how this thing was built and what a lot of people are not talking about, actually.
Well, actually, if you want to take an expert in diving, you got James Cameron, who is the director of the Titanic, and he also shot the Avatar movies, the Avatar. What do you call that? The whole series. You got what, 3 films out right now, and he's an expert diver, and he knows a thing or two. And he was asked by Stock and Rush to go into his sub, and he flat right refused. He goes, no, 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 I'm not interested, because he knew that that thing wasn't safe.
Yeah, he did. In fact, he's built his own submarine to reach some of the depths of the ocean that is the deepest, and that's the Mariana Trench. And he spent some time down there solo in that submarine because basically he wanted to take the risk for himself, unlike Stockton, where he took down passengers and risked other people's lives in something that was actually experimental.
I just find it a shame, because when you look at the passengers he had on board, or you had the millionaire from Pakistan with his son, that could be excusable. But when you have someone like the British fellow who was on, uh,
Mhm.
Hamish Harding, and also the French explorer, undersea explorer, who's, I believe, the head of the RMS Titanic Society, and he knew a thing or two about diving. And these people were experienced; that they knew what they were talking about, and that they took such a risk. I'm just totally surprised that they did this.
Yeah, he was definitely a Navy. I believe he was in the Navy for quite some time, and that's where he got a lot of his experience. And for him to be a part of that team, it was really shocking, especially in such an experimental vessel that had not been tested and thoroughly put through its paces to understand whether it was fit for those missions.
What, again, what's shocking? They've heard reports that there was cracking sounds in there, and they lost communication before this fateful dive. There were a lot of concerns, and in spite of all that, people actually risked their lives and they went down there. And I don't know if I would want to get into a submersible that's controlled by a PlayStation controller.
I'm with you on that 100%. Again, that kind of shows some of his mentality on putting this thing together using off-the-shelf parts, as he put it. And I don't think that was probably some of the smartest move, especially in hindsight 2020.
Do you believe that he had a full understanding of undersea deep water exploration, or that he had a lot of things to learn still, that he didn't take it seriously, that he was negligent, or was it like a combination of all those factors?
I think he was definitely negligent. I think he would be considered super focused on a goal that he blindly, and I mean really blindly, was focused on that and pushed it too far.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, James. Sorry.
Despite what a lot of people warn him about, and especially using experimental technologies such as carbon fiber for pressure vessel. Now, that is something that I guess I would like to talk a lot about how this thing was built. And one of the things that they're not talking about is they're talking about focusing on glue joints, the end caps, and then putting these things together. And then some people are even talking about how many bolts they bolted the front on with and stuff like that, and whether they left out a bolt or not. And in aviation, we fly pressure vessels. Aircraft are nothing but pressure vessels. Now, we pressurize from the inside out versus the outside in. So it's a little bit different. Just like carbon fiber tanks that firemen use to be able to breathe air and storm in smoky situations so that they can go fight fires. The pressure vessel on those tanks are pushing outside instead of pushing from the outside in. So that's an interesting characteristic of carbon fiber. Carbon fiber is not designed for compression strength. It is more designed for tensile strength. So that is a big piece of carbon fiber that I think a lot of people are talking about now, but they're also focusing on a lot of things that I don't think is being talked about. The end caps, for instance, where those titanium rings were glued to that cylinder. So the titanium rings were brought to the outside and brought together on that cylinder, and they were glued from one end to the other end. You'll see that famous video that's being played over and over. Well, there's a couple things about that. The way that end is designed, the ends are being pressurized from the outside. So that glue joint is actually being compressed against and pushed even tighter and tighter and tighter the deeper that submarine goes. So that in itself tells me that, and along with the bolts on the end caps, well, that thing is bolted from the outside to the inside. So that pressure is going to hold that thing in. The bolts itself will hold it in place, but then once you apply the pressure to it, it's going to seal. And so are the end caps to that carbon fiber cylinder.
I'm not sure I'd want to get into a vessel that I have someone else from the outside, and we're talking about 17 bolts here, they were saying. I wouldn't want to have someone outside bolting all these things here, and I have no control. Like, if I do make it back to the surface, I'd like to be able to get out of there. And
well, that's another thing. How would you get out? All right, so you could still run out of air, and without any kind of explosive bolt to be able to lose that thing if you had to in an emergency situation.
Right. So there was just so many things that were wrong, and see that the way I see it, I'm no expert in aviation. I know a lot of things. Got a passion for the Titanic. I like also deep sea exploration myself, space and all that. But, if I know that there's something proven out there that's doing the job, I would tend to want to go towards that avenue. Experimenting something that hasn't really been proven, I'm not comfortable with that. We're not talking about carbon fiber going down to 12,000 feet.
Yeah. Well, and the other question I have is, you look at the video as they're laying the carbon fiber for that supposedly 5-inch thick cylinder, and I was heard it was supposed to be 7 inches thick, but it wasn't. It was 5 inches. Of course, this, you hear a lot of things, and 5 or 7, regardless, either way, you look at how they're winding up the carbon fiber on it, and the discussion is that it's carbon fiber pre-preg. It's pre-pregnated with the glue inside the fiber. So pre-preg usually has to be stored at very low temperatures to keep it from curing and heating up and curing. One of the things that were discussed is it was leftover Boeing material, and it was bought from Boeing, and it was out of date. Whether that's true or not, who knows? I'm sure the eventual will come out on whether it was true or not, but still, pre-preg, when you're putting together a pre-preg, a mold or a composite structure like he was, you have to bring that whole piece up to a certain temperature to get it to cure. And they usually call those devices autoclaves, where it's like an oven. And what they would do is bring it up to a temperature and bake it for a certain amount of time for it to cure. Now, I've heard nobody talk about whether it was cured or how it was cured and what type of device. All I hear is people talk about, well, this thing was not able to be, it was too big to be, I guess, tested, or like with some sort of x-ray or something like that to see if it was safe to still use. Well, they use x-ray technologies to check on these pressure vessels of aircraft all the time. And it's part of a regular ongoing process through a certain amount of cycles that they test those particular weak joints or weak areas that they know that are weak in these pressure vessels for aircraft. So I have a lot of question on why they said they had no ability to do any testing, much less, of course, destructive testing is a whole different subject, but even just x-raying of the materials or something like that. I disagree with a lot of that. I think they do have a lot of ways to check on particular structures that they didn't want to use.
Well, there's a lot of things that are iffy about the whole thing. Is that also interns worked on the electrical system, and okay, I mean, it's nice that probably a first project and all that, but if you want to put people's, okay, safety wasn't a concern for the guy, but I don't know, I'm just having a hard time, putting this all together, that knowing that you're going that deep, safety is not an issue. I mean, aren't you thinking of all the lawsuits that are going to, people are going to be coming after you, even though you're dead? I mean, his wife, what do you think awaits the family who are still working at OceanGate?
Yeah, I don't know. I hate to even think about all that. That's a lot to think about in itself. And there's a lot of emotion over that, and rightfully so.
Man, just imagine like Nargeolet, Paul-Henri Nargeolet, going into the sub, and I don't know. It's I'm just having a hard time processing all this stuff. How these people who are smart, they're bright, they've done this before, they know about it, they're part of associations, they've heard people talking about the sub, which is not safe. But in spite of all that, they just went ahead and they did it just the same. What do you think can push a human being, knowing that something isn't safe, it's not tested? Why would you want to risk your own life? Why would you want to do that?
Well, Stockton was willing to risk his own life for what he wanted to accomplish. And I get that. Fine. If you're risking your own life, but trying to risk others that are innocent bystanders that have no clue of what's really going on with that vessel, that is criminal, in my opinion.
Even James Cameron, he did a solo descents all the way down to the Mariana Trench, like he was saying, risked his own life. But then again, he had the backing from an Australian engineer who helped him design this and who knew what he was talking about. It's proven
Hmm.
technology and what have you and all that. But I could just imagine, like, you're 15,000 feet deep down in the ocean. Something goes wrong over there. That must be a really, really horrible death. I mean, it's dark. You're in your room when you close the lights. It's dark, and your eyes eventually end up adapting somehow. But can't just imagine down in the depths of the ocean, 15,000 feet, pitch dark, and you're hearing things that are going on like the ocean currents. That must be devastatingly scary. Can you imagine just being in that situation?
I couldn't, especially as a paying passenger, trusting my life to somebody else. And as an airline pilot, flying passengers, they do that every day, and they assume we are going to get there or them there in a safe, efficient manner, which is what they expect, and rightfully so. They're a paying passenger, but aviation has safeguards after safeguards after safeguards to be able to mitigate a lot of the risk. It's not experimental, so this is just quite amazing that this was allowed to happen, and it did.
I got an upcoming video because, as you know, all the people out there, they know Pilot Bob. I have the Ask Pilot Bob daily vlogs that I put out, and one of them coming up has a little bit of a relationship to this sub, the de Havilland Comet, the DH-106, the prototype that came out. Within the first year, there were 3 fatal accidents, and what happened? What they learned, from the beginning, as you know, right now the airplanes, they have like a rounded surface. It's like rounded around the edges. Back then they were square, so the
Mhm.
air was hitting that pressure point, and eventually with the cycles of compression, decompression, and the weakening and the fatigue of that metal, that's what gave way, and those 3 de Havilland comets were lost. But
Yes.
they did something about it. They took it seriously. They did something about it.
Well, again, an airplane with pressurization is still a pressure vessel of some sort. It's just a different operating method, and just the reverse of what you would be doing diving versus flying in or going to space, even spacecraft being pressure vessels as well.
One thing that totally disturbs me, and I find that this is a big lack of respect. All the people out there, I want to say this: shame on you for all the memes you're putting out there, making fun of what happened in the sub. People have lost their lives. I mean, this is serious. I mean, this is like totally, to me, it's nonsense, and I think it's immature. And I summon you people to stop doing this, please, because this is a total lack of respect.
I agree on that point. Definitely, there was lives lost in this, and it's not a funny situation at all. Um, Unfortunately, that it happened. People have different types of sense of humors, and it is what it is.
Well, anyone who's dead, I mean, poor souls, it's like, have respect for the dead. And especially, this brings me to some thought. Is this the Titanic's way, its legacy of telling people this is a gravesite, it's sacred? Don't come and play around here. Because, a lot of people want to go down, they want to explore the Titanic, what have you. It's like it's a cemetery.
Hmm.
This is the way I see it.
It
Don't.
is a cemetery. I think there's still a lot we can learn from it, and thank God we have people that are sane to be able to do it in a safe manner. That even the documentary and the series and stuff on learning how it came apart and the structure of it and stuff like that, how to learn to build ships better from it, how not to be overconfident, and even that captain and on the ship there was overconfident, and the ability of the ship and his own ability.
Yeah,
He,
where I would agree, James, is that it's good for documentaries, good for science, it's good, to learn lessons and all that. But just to go down for a pleasure trip, just to look at, a place where people lost their lives and paying $250,000 to do that, I just don't get it. Like, like I would rather watch this on TV or rather watch it on YouTube because they have amazing footage. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you got a little porthole this big. It's like you're done with the Titanic there. I don't know. I just wouldn't be comfortable with that.
I'm with you. It's not for me. And some of these extreme sports, it's not a real thing that I need to do for myself. But a lot of people have lost their lives on Everest or other extreme challenges as well. You look at the balloonist that they took a balloon to space and a diver come off of it, a skydiver from space, and hit past Mach 1 as he re-entered from space into the atmosphere.
Wow.
He could have lost his life doing that, but all in, people want to do that to themselves. Okay, I'm gonna say go for it. But at least at that point we can learn something from it. And definitely in aviation, every one of our aviation rules and things that help make aviation safer is all paid for by somebody else's blood. And I hope that's what comes out of this is this will help anybody else from or prevent anybody else from being so careless and coming up with this idea again in the future without something better.
Well,
And,
yeah, go ahead. Finish. Sorry, James.
and I think that would be the best way to look at this tragedy is to learn from it, and then the governing bodies not allow it in the future in some sort of way.
Well, it just goes to show that the FAA and we have the 777X that's in its prototype stages, and that, for those of you who are not familiar with that jet, is the one that has military technology on it. The wingtips fold on it, and I believe it's within the first when it's down to 20 seconds. Actually, no, a certain speed they actually fold in so that they can be accommodated on the aprons and or wherever the people other terminals they have to get off. So just this airplane's been out for a while. It's under testing, and the FAA will not allow it to come out commercially because there's a few glitches with it that still have to be fixed. And yes, it's a much larger scale, but it just goes to show when you have an entity that takes things seriously, like passenger safety, that's exactly what the FAA is all about. And just to give an example how things have got to be tested, his thing came out in 2009. It was his brainchild, 2009. But it takes about maybe 20 years, to get something right and tested and over tested. That thing would have had to be unmanned, like for maybe 70 dives. If you want to compare it to to how the FAA certifies planes.
Yeah.
For example, the 787, the Max 8 that crashed. They had two crashes. The one with Ethiopian Airlines and the one, was it Lion Airlines?
Yeah. No, I don't know if it was Lion. To be honest with you, I'd have to look it up.
Okay, and they were grounded for a year and a half?
Probably longer than that even. Yeah.
Longer than that.
Well, that happened during COVID too, so that didn't help things as well. But anyway, yeah, there was. I got a lot of whole different idea and thoughts on that, and reason why that happened, and probably has a lot less to do about the airplane than pilot training, in my opinion. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic.
Personally, I know that we all have a preference in our airplanes and all that. My plane, I love the 777. I love the 787. I got my own plane, which is a 787. It's not an actual plane. It's an animated plane. My animations that I do for my daily blogs. The 737 as a plane in itself, is that a type of plane that you would like?
Oh, it's a great airplane. It's one of the better airplanes built, and it's stood the test of time over and over again. And it's even today is nowhere near retiring.
So since they have to go through the Max 8 and Max 9, I kind of get what Boeing's thinking is here, because if they want to bring back the 757 in a modified version, more to modern times, it's going to take certification. It's going to cost billions of dollars. But at this point, how far can you take that 737? I mean, it's been stretched and stretched and stretched. It comes to a certain point that you can't go any farther. Do you think that they should be bringing back the 757 in a rejuvenated version?
Not really. I don't think that would be the case at all. I think the 7.3, as they've got it now, and some of the newer versions, definitely fills a niche between it and the 7.8, and soon to be the 777 as it comes out to be an even more long hauler, and as well as a new freighter that is going to be even better than before. So I don't think so. I think I think it's where it needs to be, and I think it fits that niche and that role that it needs to. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. And there's a lot of orders today coming in to Boeing for that particular airframe.
So we're talking here a 737 and something that compares to it. I know that we had a discussion before we came on camera. We're talking about Airbus and Boeing and all that, and we're not here to compare whatever. But if you take a look at Airbus's answer, that would be the A321 Neo, the next generation. And that's quite a plane. And again, I'm having a hard time adapting to the joystick on the side, but it doesn't mean it's a bad plane.
Well, it's the 319, 320, 321, 321 Neo. I mean, you're looking at the same kind of thing. It's trying to fulfill that niche that Boeing has filled already. But if you look at the difference, like you said, it has a side stick. It operates differently than the Boeing aircraft. The Boeing aircraft, you're actually flying it. You're flying by cables and wires, where the Airbus, you're what's called fly-by-wire. You're flying through the computer. The computer basically allows you to do one thing or another when it comes to controlling the aircraft, and it's going to ultimately decide for you how far to make that control. You can take it all the way to one side or the other, and the computer is going to say, "Okay, we're going this fast, this speed. I'm not going to allow this thing to move as far as he wants me to move it." Where the Boeing is a whole completely different piece, it doesn't do that. It's a flyer's airplane. It's a pilot's airplane where I'm going to get in trouble here by so many people. The other is more automated and more, again, fly by the wire through the computer.
Well, I don't say why you'd be getting in trouble. You're actually stating the facts. The Airbus is a fly-by-wire system.
It is, and it's just, again, a pilot's plane versus that's where I'm going to get in trouble.
James, this has been a really exciting show. So what can we look forward to? Before we sign off, you're going to the Oshkosh event on the 27th of July. And those of you who don't know what the Oshkosh event is, it's held in Wisconsin. It is Wisconsin, right? I got it right?
It is. Oshkosh, Wisconsin is where it's held, and it's actually called Airventure. Airventure is the state's largest air show, and then probably the second, if not the largest air show in the world. So it is aviation mecca for the whole week, and it is also the world's busiest airport during that week. So just to give you an example, there'll be 600,000+ people there attending the event through the week, and there'll be 12,000 to 15,000 airplanes in and out of there through the week, not including the air show participants and stuff like that as well. So it is quite, I call it as a pilot, the child's playground for pilots.
Okay, so is this open to the public, or is it this like just for aviation professionals?
Open to the public completely.
Okay, so if anybody out there who's gonna watch the show and wants to go to the Oshkosh event, do they have any excursions that are put together like from other states, other parts of the world? Do they have actual trips that leave there with accommodations? Do you know of any of that stuff?
Not leaving the air show there, but people come over to this event from all over the world. And there is aviation that has brought into this event from all over the world. So you'll see everything from unmanned vehicles where people are trying to come up with this air taxi service with drone-like type airframe structures, which are highly experimental to me myself now. And that's one of the questions on whether I would get in one of those or not. But again, aviation is changing a lot with newer technology. So You'll see a lot of that kind of things. You'll see a lot of traditional aircraft. You'll see a lot of new ideas on adding new gadgets or whiz items to existing aircraft. And the experimental market, which is the EAA puts on this event, which is the Experimental Aircraft Association. And it's the EAA Airventure event that basically that's where a lot of technology is coming for these certified aircraft now, is through the experimental markets. And a lot of people, they're developing products for the experimentals. A lot of the experimental people that build their own airplanes, I being one of them, that have done that and flown experimental aircraft. Basically leap forward technology for the certified markets that the FAA ends up approving eventually for newer aircraft. So it's a great event, and if you have any interest in aviation whatsoever, I highly recommend the event.
Well, great.
There is something for everybody.
I only wish that one day I'll be able to attend, and why not? It's not impossible, right? So maybe somewhere down the line, I'll probably attend this Oshkosh event and probably just go insane with all those beautiful airplanes are going to be over there.
I'd love to attend it with you, Bob. Let's do it.
You know what? Hey, listen, if we can make it happen, yes, I would love to go there. And before we sign off, I just want to congratulate you, actually, because you did a great job. This is your first time actually hosting the show. I was your co-host tonight, and you took the lead, and you did this very, very well. So, and you started off as doing this for fun in the beginning, and I see that you're getting more and more experience, and you're feeling much more at ease. So you did very well.
Well, thank you. I actually appreciate your mentorship in it, and looking forward to more and more adventures using this platform and exploring a lot more topics again.
And all of you out there who are watching, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Pilots on the Fly. You want to hit the like button. You want to give us some nice comments, and you have any questions, we can always answer them afterwards. So whether we're on Facebook, Instagram, we're all over the place. All the platforms you can think of, we're all there. So any questions you have, whatever you want to address to us, please feel free. Again, talk to everybody. Come and subscribe to the channel and help us grow. And we have a lot of topics. And if there's something you want us to talk about, don't be shy. Drop us a line.
Drop us a line anywhere, whether it be in the comments below or just email or through the platform, whatever platform you see us on. Send us a comment, maybe even just a question. It would be great. We would love to be able to address those.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you, James, for being such an amazing host/co-host. You did a great job tonight. We'll be seeing you.
It's awesome doing this with you. I'm really, I have fun with it. And
just one last thing before we sign off. Ask Pilot Bob. All of those clips you see, well, he's the mentor. He's the one that does the proofreading. So that's why my clips are so much better, thanks to James. Thank you, everybody, and we'll be seeing you soon.